Let's get it on.
Yo, top Billin. Your boy is still beaming from ear to ear. I couldn't even sleep last night. I was so excited about the first round for my Philadelphia Eagles, baby. Everybody got to stand up in the Delaware Valley, baby. We getting it in. Jersey's finest. All right, listen. Howie Roseman doing the damn thing, right? It's mafioso style out here. Right? Mafioso style right here. He's commandeering the draft. He's taking prisoners, right? Taking names, taking prisoners, however that shit goes. He's doing it all, right? Your boy Ty here. I can't even barely think. But listen, I'm super excited to think about Nolan Smith. You guys saw my reaction to Jalen Carter. I manifested that bad boy, right? I've been talking about it for months and months and months. He was my number one player a year ago. Let that sink in, right? A year ago. We get this Mama Jama moving up one spot to the ninth pick, right? I said he was the best player on Georgia's defense that had at the time Kobe Dean, Jordan Davis, Trayvon Walker, Nolan Smith, right? We'll talk about him in a second as well. Lewis Seen, all these guys. I pointed out Jalen Carter. I said Georgia may still have the very best player in all of college football, and he was the number one player on Georgia. Now he gets to step in for Fletcher Cox here, right? He's going to rotate with Fletcher. He's going to learn from Fletcher. He's going to learn from a consummate professional, one of the best in the business. Then he gets to step in for him, right? Right next to a Milton Williams. Flanked by Hassan Reddick, Camden's own Jersey stand-up, South Jersey. You got, of course, Josh Sweat. Then they go out and get Nolan Smith with the 30th pick, right? Just continuing the trend there, right? And listen, these are guys that I talked about before. If you know, Georgia's the primary cover on this channel, right? I have a complicated relationship, right? Not big on Georgia fans, but definitely big on Georgia's program and organization, the way they run that. It's the best in the business. They are producing some fantastic players out there. So having to see my team, my city, right, being called the Philadelphia Bulldogs and all that, that makes me feel a certain kind of way, right? But I'll lean into it for now, but then I'll cry on the inside again because I'll be wanting to get away from Georgia. Can't even front. But Nolan Smith, I'm going to attach a couple of film studies here. I believe that Nolan Smith can be used a myriad of ways. I think he would be best used a myriad of ways. He's not Micah Parsons, no doubt about that. But the way that Micah Parsons is able to play off ball and give you some pass rush on money downs, right? Micah Parsons is probably the best in the business, one of the best in the business at getting after it on the line of scrimmage. Nolan Smith is dope as hell if we're talking about rush game prowess, which is weird as hell because he is undersized. Somebody tried to say he wasn't undersized because they said that Hassan Reddick is around the same size. Hassan Reddick's undersized too. There's no doubt about that, right? If you're not 250 pounds on the line of scrimmage, you're pretty much undersized. Not to mention that, almost like boxing, it's length, right? Not necessarily weight, right? Weight definitely plays a factor as well, but length. He's 6'2", 238 pounds. You can find linebackers off ball who are bigger than that. I actually think he could be a potential he could be a potential Pro Bowl player as an off-ball linebacker. This is something that I said covering this man. Remember, I've covered this man since he was in high school. Straight up. He was on my Big Bros True 19 All-Star program, Coach Kenyatta Watson, and I got introduced to him at an early age. He was a sophomore in high school at somewhere out in Savannah, and I remember meeting him. I was thinking, man, this kid has a lot of charisma. He was very much the leader of that team, and that team has a whole bunch of guys who are already in the pros and who will be in the pros over the next several drafts as well. And he was the guy who stood out and was a leader and was the most vocal. He's going to definitely step in, but they already have guys like that, right? If you're talking about the young guys, and they were all guys that were on his team that he looked up to, Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, and guys like that. Him playing off ball next to Nakobe Dean will solve a lot of problems. Philadelphia could go ahead and get even more edge players in the draft. Was it the 62nd pick or something like that? There will be some more edge players there. Now, listen, this is just me talking. Obviously, he'll be an edge player himself. He'll learn from Hassan Reddick. I don't want Hassan Reddick to go anywhere, right? Hassan Reddick, one of my favorite players ever since he was up in Philly at Temple, right? Nolan Smith being compared to him I don't see it necessarily. Hassan Reddick was a sack master at Temple. Nolan Smith, not necessarily that, right? If I'm being honest about the situation, I've said it before. 12 total sacks in 4 seasons. I know that scheme like the back of my hand. Azeez Ojulari and these guys get you almost double-digit sacks. Adam Anderson, a guy that they had, was a more natural pass rusher. Nolan Smith is just a football player. That's what makes me think he could be put off ball and be off the chain, and then you move him on money downs, have him rush, right? Bandit rush from a B gap or A gap, or come off the edge with Hassan Reddick, run those games and stunts. Come on, man. That wouldn't be fantastic. He would be almost like a defensive weapon type. Him just anchoring the line of scrimmage, that remains to be seen. Obviously, I said before, and a lot of people were pushing back on that, covering Seattle, right? This is working out well for me. Think about this. I don't really have to do much work. Covering Georgia, I know these players like the back of my hand. I got so much film study on them. I don't even have to do any other film studies. I can just repurpose film studies. Covering the Seattle Seahawks. They hired Sean Desai, right, who was a defensive coach for them last year. I understand that scheme. If they're trying to run that particular scheme, it will be rooted in odd front principles. It will be a multiplistic defense that will have 4 down linemen at times, but you can see them kind of working towards that. And I pointed that out over the latter part of the season of them working out of a 3-4. Nolan Smith, all these guys come from a 3-4. So read the tea leaves, however they say it. Jordan Davis, a traditional nose tackle. Jalen Carter, a traditional 5 technique. He can play some 3 technique as well. On money downs, if you have to take Jordan Davis out, he can reduce down to Jordan Davis's spot, and you play him next to a Milton Williams, and you do your 3-man game. Like I said, Sweat, Reddick, Smith. Nakobe Dean's a hell of a blitzer. He led Georgia in sacks. Think about that. He once led Georgia in sacks when Nolan Smith was on the team. He's a hell of a blitzer as well. Pressure won't be a problem. Hassan Reddick, top 5 in the business, probably top 3 getting after it. Josh Sweat, too. Josh Sweat, probably top 20. So much talent back there. No doubt about that. I'll put some Nolan Smith stuff here, and we can go from there. But before I do that, I wanted to talk about them possibly getting more Georgia players. I talked about Chris Smith, the safety. We still need a safety, in my opinion, a free safety, someone who can run posts. If they're going to get to some of your post safety looks with a single high safety, being able to drop someone like Terrell Edmonds in the box, somebody to slide behind a Justin Evans. Chris Smith will be that guy, right? That dude getting hit, boy, he be hitting like the water boy out this moment. I'm not lying to you. He will be dope. I don't believe we need another running back, but if we were to look for another running back later in the draft, Kenny McIntosh. That boy is physical. There's a theme here. Georgia has a whole bunch of physical players surrounded by a whole bunch of explosive athletes. That's why they're back-to-back national champions, and they have their eye on a 3rd one in a row, and they have more guys like that in tow as well. Chris Smith will be dope there. Going to need a cornerback for the future. I've already talked about this before. This guy, not a big fan of his per se, and all the people who said that I was hating on him, he didn't get drafted in the 1st round. I'm pretty sure my analysis was spot on about this guy. But I also said that he's worth taking a flyer on because of his athleticism, and the Eagles would be that. Having a guy like James Bradbury, one of these technician types he could learn behind. Having a guy like Darius Slay, who was a bit of a technician, who was a bit of a athletic guy himself, to learn behind. That will be Keely Ringo. Big Keely Ringo right there. He could be physical as well. I believe he would fit the scheme of what Sean designed these guys like. They took Tariq Woolen in Seattle last year, who was a super physical freak out there. Right, he was the biggest freak in all of football at the cornerback position. Keely Ringo could possibly be his equal, as we're talking about straight line speed and size and all that. Keely Ringo could do that. He could probably work wonders with Keely Ringo as well. Hey, these are just my thoughts. You have to let me know what you think about that, but let's get to some Nolan Smith right here. Let me repurpose these film studies right here, And hey, baby, fly Eagles fly. We out this joint. We getting it cracking, baby. Let's go. In the motorcycle 2-point stance. This is what I want to see from him this season, this upcoming season on a regular basis. This is a sack within a regular confines from snap to pass. Gets my man lifted. Oh, that's hard. Check it out. All right, so obviously this is against, I don't even know what this team is, to be honest with you. Murray State, I think. So giving him half a man, right? My man does not know what to anticipate here. You're not selling it, right? You're not telegraphing your move. Splits him, gets up under him. Think about this. Nolan Smith is nowhere near where he needs to be in the power department, man. Once he gets around 250-something pounds, good night, Irene. But look at this. Still a pretty strong kid despite that. A hell of a play, man. He's going to take an inside approach right here with this fabricated pressure scheme. Reduces down. There's nothing there but a bunch of traffic, right? So he has to sift through the sanitation. You see the quarterback here on his drop. Nowhere to go. And look at all these dudes, man. Georgia is absolutely loaded on his defense. So is Oregon too, though. So don't sleep on Oregon. Oregon is loaded on the defensive end. 2 loaded defensive teams here. But now you see Nolan Smith start to uncover. Here's the workaround sack. Just continues to work. Right? Not within the confines from snap to pass, but just hustling. Continuing to work. He ends up getting there. This is a good play by him. It shows what he's really about, man. He's right now is a hustle type kid, but eventually, man, he can be one of those Khalil Mack types, in my opinion, as a 3-4 outside linebacker type. He loves to play against the run. He will stack and shed blocks, but he will continue to work until the play is done. So that's a great asset to have in your 3-4 outside linebacker or any player in general. Smith back working. You see most of his stuff is coming out of their even front alignments, which is pretty good, and it shows you. But look at him battling, man. Taking on 2 men and spinning out of it. Go back. Meets the friction. Keeps battling, driving those legs. Has the want to. Spins out of it. Finds a little bit of a crease. Now he's going to be too damn explosive for you to try to escape at the last moment. Great play. Now, this was against Murray State. So that's who I was talking about earlier. So I had it right. Murray State. I want you to watch this one right here. Use your imagination. You don't really even got to use your imagination on this one because this almost becomes like a 4-3 under. See the 4 down lineman right here. Nolan Smith is back off ball. You have him next to Quay Walker, your inside linebacker. Watch them motion in the Kobe Dean, right? Future superstar with the Eagles. And then he's still off ball, but kind of behind, I want to say that might be Tremel Waltower here. And watch him work as a linebacker right here. Look at him, keep the edge, bend back inside, make the tackle on Trey Sanders. That's hard. Look at that. String it out, still kind of keep that edge contained right there. Snap it back off, and then look at him make the open field tackle. He would absolutely excel in this role. I'm trying to tell you guys. All right, here we go once again. You see him on the edge. He'll drop back to linebacker depth here. You can watch him peel and stick right here, getting the receiver. You can see how he moves out in space. Oh, look at that. Head on a swivel, getting Yaakov. Love watching him work at depth. You can definitely see right there. Look at him and Quay Walker, right? Quay Walker actually looks a little bigger than Nolan Smith. So keep that in mind right there when you're talking about frames. But you get him out in the open field and out in open space, let him chase down tackles. He should be pretty good at that, no doubt. All right, so this was his best pass rush of this particular game and of the other game, right? So this is 2 games that I'm watching right here because I wanted to see him against the best competition available. And my man, obviously it's contact. This is the last play of the game right now. Alabama's getting blown out. They're in pure coverage right here. Nobody's going to be open, but I think it's a pretty good move, inside move on Evan Neal, and that ended the game right there. So the game was pretty much over. There was really no resistance going to be had really by anybody on the offensive line right there. So you can see nobody open or anything like that, but hey, you still had to do it. So, all right, one more time with him as the anchor point on these stretch runs. You see right there, doing a good job of holding the point of attack. staying on the outside, being able to peek back inside if necessary there. You had the nickel defender come down there and stop the run. And then, of course, everybody else gets in on the play there.
What more can I say?
Top Billin.